Don't doubt me. I told you guys that I was going to be dropping these guides every single day to help you in clearing some of these more difficult 90 plus nodes if you didn't have a buster farming setup. Now, again, I understand not everybody's going to have Artoria, but this should be kind of malleable. You know, you should be able to retrofit this to your account. Maybe you don't have Artoria, but you've got Muramasa. Now, I could explain what the game plan is right now, but basically, it's getting a servant that can chunk the first main boss, you know, that has about 90k HP, you know, nothing super insane. And NP1 Bedivere should be able to clear this, as I did use a Bedivere for about a 100k enemy for the lotto that we had on JP. I'll probably link it down in the description down below. It's called like, oh, you gotta like not buff this guy because he's too crazy, you know, something along those lines, because he's NP1 on my JP and he's still able to clear nodes like this. So him being NP5 should be, you know, whatever, right? That shouldn't actually matter. The thing that really does matter is that you have somebody that is self-sufficient, so we don't have to waste any of our other buffs. And again, this Castoria can also be like a Scotty or someone else that could just give you buffs, you know, as long as they're able to give buffs to your main looper over here, the main person you're going to be doing damage with. That's all that we really care about. Now, the other thing over here is that they're able to give somewhat of a buff to whoever you're going to be using. Just being a pseudo DPS is going to be very nice. Now, we're very blessed over here with Artoria because she can also give Bedivere that additional attack buff. So it does make, say, an NP1 Bedivere a bit more guaranteed at being able to clear this. And we'll also just go for these for the sense of like, oh, if we needed face cards or something along those lines, we could, you know, pop those up right here. But again, we're also using imaginary element because, you know, I don't want to use some like a 5-star CE or something along those lines that people may not have. Again, you could use a 50% starting charge, so you could use something like cranking or, you know, like the Jolter CE, right? You could use aerial drive if you did do your pen skill for your Bedivere, right? If that's what you want to use for this. And that will give you a bit more damage as well if you're more on the NP1 side. Now, before we get into this, we're going to go ahead and bump our Bedivere back, because something else that we're able to do that's kind of interesting with our waiver is that we're going to be able to proc his NP going into the final node to give us a little bit of extra damage that I'm going to demonstrate. Now, it doesn't really matter who this is. I'm using Castoria because, you know, hey, she's going to be able to give us that 50%, probably a little bit better than Scotty because she's giving us the attack buff, which, you know, is really nice. But basically, you just want to get whoever your main guy is 50% battery, right? Artoria works out really well for this one because she refunds 20% on her own NP. And, you know, that, you know, in conjunction with 30%, the 50% that Waiver is able to give her over here is going to allow her to kind of push through these nodes. And now my Artoria is NP2, and, you know, I'm sure you have a AoE Berserker or an AoE Saber that you have decent investment in. You know, I'm just using Artoria as my example of someone that has fairly decent investment. And notice, we don't have to use the Buster buff. We want to save our main damaging buff for the final node. Again, if we're doing Buster farming, this is not really an issue, but again, you're not watching this video if you're just Koyan looping it, right? If you're just looping all your skills back, nothing really matters. You know, you're just blowing these guys' backs out. You know, who cares, right? But see, we get 20% of our NP back. We've popped our 30% battery. Now we go ahead and go for the big mana burst over here. You know, we're getting big fat globs of damage. And just in case, you know, maybe you don't have someone that does as much damage as Artoria, because again, Artoria already does a lot of damage. I understand that. And mine is NP2. I also grailed her because, as you guys may or may not know, I'm a little bit of a Saberface enjoyer, but you know, if you have somebody similar that you have decent investment in and you need to kind of push them up a little bit, Waiver's NP will give them bonus overcharge. Now, for Artoria, the bonus overcharge doesn't really matter because it's just giving her more NP back. But if your guy is, again, say a Muramasa who gets that arts buff and the NP damage buff, getting that extra overcharge will be nice, and he's going to lower their defense. And on the off chance that maybe it's more of a role for your character, he might also stun them, right? This is why Waiver is still very, very vital for accounts that don't have all the most optimal things going for them, right? Maybe you don't have all of the most crazy supports going on for you. You know, you could take advantage of this. There's also, you know, something that you could do as well, where you can like bring a friend support if you have the damaging people. You could bring, say, a friend Oberon if you already have all the other people to kind of subvert the people that you need. But again, you can see that Artoria is able to get it done, you know. And we get the Zhangzhui Bond 3 because I'm trying to be able to go in and do their rank ups and everything before the banners drop, because I want that extra Saint Quartz for the summer banners. But I hope you guys found this to be helpful. Just a quick little video I wanted to throw out here. Again, it should be a little bit malleable. You should be able to pick up some servants and kind of slot them into different slots, right? Like in a 50% battery in Artoria's place would still work. Instead of refunding 20% and getting that 30% battery, a Muramasa or an Ibuki would just do 50% of their battery, that big battery that they've got, and then you would just use waiver skills to then push them up to 100%. And again, Bedivere on his own should be able to get this done at NP1, especially if, again, you have invested in that append skill, which might be harder to do if admittedly you haven't pulled as many copies, and you don't have them at very high bond levels. But if you do, you can give them a little bit of extra juice with a 50% starting charge CE with his 30% battery, which I believe, let me just double check right now before I say something wrong. Yes, you don't actually have to invest in Bedivere's second skill. It's just a guaranteed 30% battery. So even if you're someone that's panicking, like, oh, I don't have my skill levels up, just worry about the first one. The first skill level is all you need. It gives you the party NP damage, which is the main thing that you want for not only your Bedivere to do some really good damage, but also to pass on that buff to whoever your primary damage dealer is. Again, someone like a Scotty would even work. You would want to probably save that defense down for the last node because, again, that guy is about 230k HP. That's a little beefy if you're not really concentrating a lot of buffs onto one servant, but again, it's really just a matter of managing your batteries, right? Like at the end of the day, what this comes down to is math. And I'm just, to be totally upfront with everybody, this is my first attempt doing this one. Like I was just very confident that like I've done this before. I know how much damage around these servants are going to do. This should work out. It would have been really embarrassing if it didn't work out. If like I went in here, my Atori wasn't able to clear, but I've used this unit all the time. I know she does really good damage. And look at these drops they're able to get, right? If you're someone that is a newer player, getting these bone drops is really good. As for myself, well, actually expose myself right there. I actually do need these bones. But getting these bone drops are going to be very good for all of your servants. And then getting that potential 1 million QP that you can see that I also need over here. Please give me another Lotto single. I'm dying out here. Morgan is eating all my QP. But then you also get the EXP cards. I always found these to be an incredible boon whenever they did come out, as a newer player, because it gives you a little bit of everything. It gives you the gemmies, it gives you the QP, the EXP cards, the mats that are very helpful. And so I just want to make sure that everybody's able to get through this and get this done, because again, I know the struggle of being a new FGO player, and we're going into Anniversary where those EXP cards, as a bonus to what you would normally be doing in the stinky dailies over here, is going to be very, very just helpful. Right, because you want to have all of your servants leveled up as much as possible for Archetype Earth, who's going to be coming out in, about 9 days from now? And then the Summer of servants that are going to be about 15 days from now. It should be a week after Archetype Earth drops. So yeah, make sure you get it done. I will answer as many questions as I can in the comments down below. I might stream later today, so if you're wanting me to do some other test runs, I have no problem doing that at all whatsoever. If I don't stream... don't be surprised, I'm a little exhausted, but I might try to stream to help people out. So that'll be in the description down below. If you don't see me today, but I will definitely stream tomorrow. But with all that being said, this was supposed to be short, but you guys know me. I'm just rambling. I'm trying to make sure I get all the information out there because I'm not used to doing these like, oh, let's just throw out a little guide just right out there to try to help people out. But I'm just going to cut myself off, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow with a normal daily upload and then another guide that should help you out in taking down the Hunting Quest 90+ node.